The story of Daniel is one of the most inspiring in the Bible, a shining example of faith, courage, and obedience to God during times of adversity. He was a young man taken into exile in Babylon, far from his homeland and people. Yet he never wavered in his relationship with God. Daniel lived a life of devotion, steadfastness, and wisdom, even when faced with immense challenges. His story teaches us how we can remain faithful, even amidst the pressures of a world that often seeks to pull us away from God. Let us delve into the most significant moments of his life and discover how we can follow his example to live with integrity and faith. Daniel's calling, faithfulness in a foreign land. Daniel was brought to Babylon as part of a group of noble and intelligent young men chosen to serve in King Nebuchadnezzar's court. These young men were to be educated in Babylonian culture, learn the language, and be molded into loyal servants of the king. To achieve this, they were offered the finest food and drink from the royal table. However, Daniel resolved not to defile himself with food that violated God's commands. This decision, though seemingly small, required immense faith. Refusing the king's food was an act of defiance that could have cost Daniel his life. Yet, he chose to please God rather than conform to human expectations. He requested permission to eat only vegetables and drink water, and God honored his faithfulness, enabling him and his friends to thrive more than any of the other trainees. This moment teaches us the importance of being faithful in small decisions. Often, it is in seemingly insignificant choices that we reveal where our true allegiance lies. Like Daniel, we should strive to live according to God's principles, even when it conflicts with the culture around us. God's wisdom at work, interpreting dreams. One of the most remarkable moments in Daniel's life was his God-given ability to interpret dreams. King Nebuchadnezzar had a disturbing dream but refused to disclose its details to the Babylonian wise men. Instead, he demanded that they recount the dream and interpret it. When no one could meet his demands, the king ordered the execution of all the wise men, including Daniel and his friends. Daniel, however, responded with calm and wisdom. He asked the king for time and, together with his friends, sought God in prayer, asking him to reveal the dream and its meaning. God answered their prayers, revealing the dream to Daniel. With courage, Daniel explained the vision to the king, revealing it as a divine revelation about future kingdoms and God's eternal kingdom. This story highlights the importance of prayer and trust in God. Daniel did not rely on his own wisdom, but entrusted the situation entirely to God. He also displayed courage by presenting the truth to the king, regardless of the consequences. Like Daniel, we can face difficult situations with confidence that God will grant us the wisdom and strength we need. The fiery furnace, the unwavering faith of Daniel's friends. Though this story focuses on Daniel's friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, it reflects the atmosphere of faith and commitment that Daniel helped foster. When Nebuchadnezzar set up a golden statue and commanded everyone to bow before it, Daniel's friends refused. They knew that worshipping anything other than the true God would violate his commandments. Confronted with the threat of being thrown into a fiery furnace, they stood firm. They declared that God could save them, but affirmed that even if he did not, they would not bow. This profound faith is an example of obedience and courage. God honored their faithfulness by sending a fourth figure to join them in the furnace, a divine presence that protected them from harm. This story encourages us to remain steadfast in our faith, even when faced with the greatest threats. God is able to save us, but regardless of the outcome, our loyalty to him should remain unshaken. Belshazzar's feast and the writing on the wall. Years later, during the reign of Belshazzar, Daniel was called upon once again to interpret a mysterious message. During a banquet, the king used sacred vessels from the temple in Jerusalem to drink wine and praise pagan gods. In response, a hand appeared, writing words on the wall that no one could decipher. When Daniel was summoned, he did not hesitate to speak the truth. He explained that the writing was a judgment from God, declaring that Belshazzar's kingdom would be taken from him. That very night, Belshazzar was killed, and the Babylonian Empire fell. This story reminds us that God is sovereign over all things. Even when it seems like evil is prevailing, God is in control and will bring justice in his timing. Like Daniel, we should be courageous in speaking the truth, even when it is unpopular or dangerous. The Lion's Den, Daniel's faith under pressure. One of the most well-known episodes of Daniel's life occurred during the reign of Darius, the Medo-Persian king. Daniel had risen to a high position of authority, which provoked jealousy among other leaders. Knowing Daniel's unwavering devotion to God, they conspired to create a law forbidding prayer to anyone other than the king for 30 days. Daniel, however, did not alter his prayer routine. 3 times a day, he knelt and prayed to the God of Israel, as he always had. He valued his faithfulness to God more than obedience to a human decree. As a result, Daniel was thrown into a lion's den. Yet God sent an angel to shut the lions' mouths, protecting Daniel completely. The next morning, King Darius was relieved to find Daniel alive and declared that Daniel's God was a living God who saves and rescues. This story teaches us the importance of consistency in our faith. Even under extreme pressure, Daniel remained faithful to God, and his faith was rewarded miraculously. We are called to live with the same courage, trusting that God is with us in all circumstances. How can we live like Daniel? Daniel's life provides a powerful model for living a life of faith in a world that often opposes God's values. Here are some practical lessons we can apply. Seek God in everything. Daniel lived a life of constant prayer, seeking God both in crises and daily life. We should do the same, trusting God in all situations. Be faithful in small things. Daniel's choice to avoid the king's food shows faithfulness in seemingly small matters. Our faithfulness in the little things reflects our overall dedication to God. Trust in God's sovereignty. Daniel understood that God was in control at all times. Even in the face of persecution, he trusted that God was working to fulfill his purposes. Speak the truth with courage. Daniel boldly declared the truth, even before powerful kings. We are called to be God's voice, speaking the truth in love and with bravery. Remain consistent. Daniel's unwavering devotion to God, even under pressure, sets an example for us. We should remain steadfast in our faith, no matter the circumstances. Final reflections. Daniel's life is a testament to what God can do through someone who lives with faithfulness and courage. He shows us that even in a hostile world, it is possible to remain faithful to God and experience his blessings and protection. May we learn from Daniel's example and live in a way that honors God, trusting in his faithfulness to fulfill his promises.